Good morning, Magic. I'm Gavin Verhey from Wizards of the Coast, and today I have on a very exciting guest. Welcome to the show, Emma Handy.
Hello, how are you doing this morning?
So first of all, Emma, talk a little bit about yourself.
I've been playing since 2003. The things I've been involved with that people might recognize me from are commentary and writing for StarCityGames.com. I am a member of the Rivals League, so I'm very spiky normally, but I've also kind of gotten my fingers into design a little bit as well and helped design a Brawl pre-con for Throne of Eldraine last year.
So I want to dig into kind of two of those things a little bit more, and then we'll go into the meaty part of today's show. First of all, talk to me about your pro play. So grand finals this weekend, really exciting. How did you get into pro Magic, and then how do you feel about where you are right now?
I did a lot of stuff on the sort of PTQ, or if you're East Coast American, the Star City Games IQ level in the early 2010s, with the goal being to get into commentary. Then last year, I actually won the PAX East Magic Championship, which qualified me for Mythic Championship 4 in Barcelona, and got to play in Mythic Championship 3 in Las Vegas last year, and did well enough in both of those for Wizards of the Coast to offer me one of the discretionary slots into the Rivals League this year. And now I'm even getting to work with Autumn Burchett, Luis Salvato, and Peter Glogowski, Canister for anyone who watches this stream, for the upcoming grand finals.
Yeah, so the grand finals are kicking off this weekend and you're playing in them. What did you bring to the table and why did you bring it?
It's a split format, right? There's historic and standard, both of the big arena constructed formats. Autumn Burchett kind of brought this Omnath historic deck, where I understand a lot of people might be tired of Omnath now, but it's really cool when you get to have it hang with these big decks like Muxus, like Bolus's Citadel. It can hang with Collected Company, and it's really exciting to see how that deck can go off when you have a Lotus Cobra and a bunch of Explorers or something like that. But what I think is the most interesting about our deck selection is we're actually bringing my take on Gruul Adventures for the standard portion, which is something where we saw it lined up pretty well against the traditional Omnath ramp decks most of the time, and we really just wanted to make sure we could beat those. And it almost felt like the sort of 11th hour night before Audible, where I said, why aren't we playing this? And people said, well, I don't really like most of the lists. And I said, okay, well, give me a couple hours. And we just have a thread in our team Discord where I post an update, and then an hour later I post an updated deck list, and an hour later I post an updated deck list. And that continued until I posted a list that both Autumn and Salvato looked at and said, you know what? I like the cut of this list, Jib. I think I'm gonna take this risk.
So you've got a couple exciting decks lined up, and you can watch Emma all this weekend during the grand final. So I'll be following her. I am super stoked about it. So another really cool thing you got the chance to do was a couple of years back, you worked on the Brawl Decks. So you designed one of the Brawl Decks. We did a cool thing where we brought in these external people to build these decks. Talk to me about the deck you built and what that process was like.
Sure. So for anyone who has played Bant in Commander recently, Chulane, Teller of Tales, is kind of my baby. That deck is something that I put a ton of work into trying to make sure it was something that was playable out of the box. You could kind of hang if you were maybe trying the format out for the first time, or it felt strong enough that it was worth buying, worth really just sinking your teeth into if you were a veteran of the format. And I honestly, maybe I'm being a little full of myself, but I feel like I knocked it out of the park. A lot of people seem to really like that product, and the affirmation I got from that made me really interested in trying to do more of that kind of work in the future. The Brawl exclusive cards in this set, I had a little bit of influence on, we'll say, turning some of the knobs on them, where maybe I could say, hey, this costs too little, this card's not impactful enough. But the designs themselves, as far as I am aware at least, were more you guys than me's guys.
Yeah, so if you're going to blame anyone for Chulane, don't blame Emma too much. Just like a little bit at most, just a little bit, just a teensy bit. You did a fantastic job, and we're always happy to work with you on design stuff, which is why, coming into today's topic, we have something really exciting. Emma, do you want to announce it to the world?
Yes, I have been working on this for almost 6 months now. So I have been gifted one of the Cube series designer spotlights. I've had the opportunity to design a cube to go up on Magic Online, and I could not be more excited about it. This is the Proliferate Cube.
Yeah, so we have this Magic Online Designer Spotlight Cube series that's been headed up, and we've got a lot of really cool cubes coming out. We talked a little before about David McDarby's Live the Dream Cube, which I know was really popular and did quite well. And coming up next, as soon as next Wednesday, you'll be able to draft it, is Emma Handy's Proliferate Cube. So Emma, how did this cube come to be? Like, how did this even come about?
So originally, I just wanted to create a cube experience that was close to the formats that I really like to play, which generally is lots of things happening on the battlefield. That's what's the most important. And high complexity board states where it is your job as the player to solve what is important. So many of these cards are more than the sum of their parts, right? This is a cube where I think it's a lower power level than something like Legacy or Vintage or probably even Modern Cube. But the complexity of the games is where the money is.
So can you give me a few examples of cards that show up in this cube, which are all-stars that a normal cube you probably wouldn't pick up?
The kind of card that you're going to see here that's so much better in this set than it would be in any other cube are cards like Fate Transfer. It's something that can sometimes be a removal spell against some of the modular creatures in the set, like Arcbound Stinger, Arcbound Ravager for any of the Affinity fans. Or it can even just be a combat trick.
I don't think I've ever even seen Fate Transfer cast. Really kind
It's
of turns
one of the better pack one pick ones. You'd be surprised.
Something really cool about this to me is it almost sounds like a new master set in a sense, where it's not even like your normal cube that you're used to. It really is like, hey, there's some very different stuff in here. Find the synergies, find the themes, play with cards you would never normally play with.
Yeah, exactly. So another big card that is one of the best possible pack one pick ones is the card Power Conduit, because of how that card can actually interact with sagas, because those are cards that can kind of play with Proliferate on either side of the battlefield, where you can even proliferate your opponent's saga, for example, to throw them off balance, or you can use Power Conduit to use the same ability on a saga over and over. There are just so many ways that these cards have never been played together before, and I just wanted to create an incredibly unique experience.
I'm getting like tingles down my spine just thinking about some of these interactions that I have literally never seen happen before. I'm so excited to Power Conduit away a lore counter from a saga. That sounds so cool. So I mean, let's run through just a couple archetypes. What are some of your favorite archetypes here, and what are some of like the key cards you can expect there? So when you're drafting, like if you see this, you know you might want to go down that path.
Sure. So there are some cards that you're going to see that are just classic cube cards. Think Jiraga Tree Speaker, for example. It's one of the most iconic mana creatures from Cube, and it involves counters, and it can be proliferated to granting some other abilities in the late game. But rather than having, say, your normal ramp payoffs like Craterhoof Behemoth or Woodfall Primus, instead we're all ramping into Hydras, so you still get that bit of synergy with Proliferate. Over in black, you have a bunch of sacrifice synergies, because things like Undying, things like Persist, these are all effects that involve counters and can be proliferated for better or for worse, or all of these cards that move counters around can reset their ability to undie or persist again. You even have some just super classic feeling archetypes. There are a bunch of red cards, for example, that can be played in a red deck win strategy, because so many burn cards happen to actually involve counters and the like. So you go, wow, I didn't realize Riftbolt and Stormkirk Nobles and Stormblood Berserker, all of these cards just involve counters, and it feels natural to the themes of the set. And there are a couple of cards that you wouldn't see anywhere else, say someone dying to Goblin Bomb.
Yeah, everyone out there, look up Goblin Bomb. That is a nice blast from the past. Well, the cube sounds awesome. You'll be able to play it starting next Wednesday on Magic Online. And right now, or basically right now as this video goes up, you can find the full list and Emma Handy's article on the dailymtg.com website with all the information. It's going to be a blast. And really, this is an experience unlike a lot of other cubes. This is kind of its own draft format in the same way a master set might be to some sense. So go and give it a try.
I really appreciate you having me on. This has been great. I hope I get to do it again sometime.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Emma, and please go and follow her this weekend during the grand finals, where she's going to battle with some of the other best Magic players in the world, and we'll see if she ends up on top. I'll talk with you all again on Monday, and in the meantime, you have a lot of fun proliferating your dreams. You got this. When was the last time you sat down at a commander table and there were no green decks? It's a very uncommon occurrence. And green decks cast tons of spells. With their accelerated mana, it's easy to cast a lot of things in one turn. If a card like Phyrexian Arena is good enough for your deck, Insight almost definitely is. There are plenty of commander tables where Insight will even be better than Rhystic Study. Especially if you're playing with me, because I always pay the one. And that brings us to our fourth card,